3 nights ago, Anthony Edwards said something that should have stayed in the locker room. Tonight, it's the story that has every NBA fan picking sides and questioning what loyalty really means in modern basketball. Picture this: a 22-year-old rising star calling out one of the league's most respected players for being too corporate, too polished, too careful. Then imagine that respected player, someone who usually handles controversy like a seasoned politician, deciding he's had enough of being the nice guy. That's exactly what happened when Edwards labeled Jayson Tatum a sellout, and Tatum responded with the kind of fire we rarely see from him. But this isn't just another trash-talking controversy. This is a generational clash that cuts to the heart of what it means to be an NBA superstar in 2024. Edwards represents the new wave of players who wear their emotions on their sleeves, who refuse to play the media game, who'd rather be real than marketable. Tatum embodies the evolution of the modern superstar, polished, brand-conscious, and strategic about every public move. Here's what I want to know from you right off the bat. In today's NBA, is there room for both approaches? Can you be authentic and still build a billion-dollar brand, or does one necessarily compromise the other? Drop your thoughts, because this debate goes way deeper than basketball. What started as post-game comments has morphed into something that could define how these two careers' trajectory forward. One player fighting for respect, another defending his legacy. Both convinced they're right, both with millions of fans ready to go to war for them. Let's break down how a few careless words turned into the most fascinating NBA drama of the season. The explosive comment that started it all. The Timberwolves had just dismantled the Lakers 128-107, and Anthony Edwards was feeling himself. He dropped 31 points with 6 threes, talked trash to LeBron all night, and carried himself like he owned the building. The kind of performance that makes you feel invincible. The kind that loosens your tongue just enough to say something you probably shouldn't. Edwards was in the tunnel, still buzzing from the win, when ESPN's Malika Andrews caught up with him for what should have been a routine post-game interview. She asked about his aggressive play style, his confidence, how he approaches veteran stars. Standard questions that usually get standard answers. But Edwards was still running on adrenaline and pure emotion. "Man, I just play my game," he started, which seemed safe enough. "I don't try to be perfect for the cameras like some of these dudes." Andrews nodded, probably thinking they were heading toward a conversation about authenticity in sports. She had no idea what was coming next. "Take Tatum, for example," Edwards continued, and you could see in his eyes that he was about to cross a line. "Dude's talented, no doubt. But he's just another corporate sellout now, wearing all those sponsorships, saying all the right things, forgetting what this league is really about." Stop right there. Edwards just called out one of the NBA's golden boys for being too corporate. Now I've got to ask, do you think young players have a point when they criticize veterans for being too polished? Or is this just disrespect disguised as keeping it real? The words hung in the air for a moment. Andrews tried to give Edwards an out, asking if he wanted to clarify what he meant. But Edwards doubled down. "I'm saying what everybody's thinking but scared to say. Some of these cats care more about their next endorsement deal than actually hooping. The game's getting soft because dudes are more worried about their image than their impact." He wasn't done. "I respect the skill, but I don't respect the sellout mentality. You can't be revolutionary playing it safe all the time. That's not what this league was built on." The interview wrapped quickly after that, but the damage was done. Edwards had just publicly questioned the authenticity of one of the NBA's most marketable stars, suggesting that success had compromised Tatum's competitive fire. Within hours, clips of the interview were everywhere. The phrase "corporate sellout" started trending on Twitter. NBA fans began choosing sides before Tatum even had a chance to respond. What Edwards probably didn't realize was that he'd just poked a bear who'd been quietly building one of the most impressive resumes in basketball. Tatum's calculated destruction on live TV. Jayson Tatum spent 3 days watching the clips circulate, reading the takes, seeing his name trending for all the wrong reasons. Those who know him say he was genuinely hurt by Edwards' comments. Not angry, but disappointed that another player would question his love for the game. When he finally got his chance to respond, it was during a live interview on NBA on TNT's pregame show. Ernie Johnson brought it up casually, probably expecting Tatum to deflect with his usual diplomatic response. Instead, they got something completely different. "I saw what Anthony said," Tatum began, his voice steady, but carrying an edge that immediately got everyone's attention. "And honestly, it's disappointing to hear that from another player." The studio went quiet. This wasn't the measured, media-trained Tatum they were used to. Charles Barkley leaned forward in his chair, sensing something was about to happen. "Anthony talks about sellouts and corporate mentality," Tatum continued, his composure cracking just enough to show real emotion. "But let me ask you something. What exactly has he accomplished that gives him the right to question my approach?" Hold up. This is where Tatum switched from defense to offense, and it got personal quick. "Do you think experience gives veterans the right to shut down young players' opinions? Or should criticism be judged on merit, regardless of who's saying it?" But Tatum was just getting started. He looked directly into the camera, speaking not just to the TNT audience, but directly to Edwards. "If I'm a sellout, then what does that make you? Thinking respect is earned just because someone is younger? I've been to the finals twice. I've carried teams. I've shown up when it matters most." What playoff series has Anthony Edwards won? The numbers hit like body shots. Tatum rattled off his accomplishments with surgical precision. All-star selections, playoff performances, clutch moments. Each stat felt like a direct response to Edwards' authenticity challenge. You want to talk about what this league is built on? It's built on winning. It's built on showing up in big moments. It's built on earning your stripes before you start criticizing guys who've already done it. Kenny Smith tried to interject, but Tatum wasn't finished. "I respect Anthony's talent, but respect is a two-way street. You can't demand it while disrespecting others. And if having endorsement deals and being professional makes me a sellout, then I guess every successful player in this league is guilty of the same thing." The final blow. "When Anthony Edwards has accomplished half of what I have, then we can have a conversation about authenticity." The studio fell silent. Even Shaq looked impressed. Tatum had just delivered one of the most devastating responses in recent NBA history. Social media warfare and choosing sides. The moment Tatum's interview ended, the internet exploded into full-scale warfare. Within minutes, your Tatum vs. Edwards was trending worldwide, and NBA Twitter became a battlefield where fans, players, and analysts were forced to pick a side in what had become the season's most polarizing debate. Team Edwards rallied around the idea of authenticity over achievement. "Ant just said what we all thinking," read one viral tweet with 200K likes. "These corporate players be fake as hell." Young fans gravitated toward Edwards' raw honesty, viewing him as someone unafraid to speak truth to power. But Team Tatum came with receipts. Highlight reels of his playoff performances flooded timelines. Stats comparing their career achievements spread like wildfire. "Edwards ain't done nothing but talk," became the counter-narrative. "Tatum been proving it for years." The generational divide was stark. Older fans and NBA veterans largely sided with Tatum, viewing Edwards' comments as disrespectful and premature. Younger fans saw Edwards as someone refusing to bow down to established hierarchy. This split is fascinating because it reveals so much about how we view success and authenticity. Are you more impressed by someone who's proven themselves over time, or someone who's willing to challenge the status quo regardless of their resume? This feels like a defining moment for NBA culture. Current players started weighing in, and their responses revealed deep divisions within the league itself. Damian Lillard posted, "Respect is earned, not given, period." Meanwhile, Ja Morant tweeted, "Sometimes keeping it 100 means saying what others won't." The subtext was clear. Even NBA players couldn't agree on who was right. The media reaction was equally split. Stephen A. Smith went nuclear defending Tatum. Anthony Edwards needs to learn his place and show some respect. Skip Bayless, predictably, took the opposite stance. Finally, someone called out the fake corporate culture taking over the NBA. But the most interesting responses came from brands and sponsors. Nike, which has deals with both players, found itself in an impossible position. Social media managers across the industry watched nervously as their athletes became lightning rods for debates about authenticity versus professionalism. The numbers were staggering. Tatum's Instagram gained 500,000 followers overnight. Edwards' jersey sales spiked 300%. Both players were trending above actual games being played that night. Memes dominated every platform. Edwards photoshopped as a young player challenging the establishment. Tatum depicted as the accomplished veteran, putting a rookie in his place. The creativity was endless, but the underlying tension was real. What started as one player's opinion had evolved into a full-scale examination of modern NBA culture, corporate influence, and the price of success. The deeper implications and industry reactions. Behind the social media spectacle, this controversy was creating real waves throughout the NBA ecosystem. Team executives, agents, and league officials found themselves grappling with questions that went far beyond a simple player feud. The Minnesota Timberwolves organization was reportedly having internal discussions about Edwards' comments. While they publicly supported their young star's right to express himself, sources suggested concerns about potential ramifications for team chemistry and league relationships. Boston Celtics management took a different approach, using the controversy to highlight Tatum's leadership and professionalism. They viewed his response as evidence of his maturity and readiness to be the face of their franchise for years to come. Here's what really interests me about the team reactions. Do you think organizations should coach their players to be more media savvy and avoid controversies? Or should they encourage authentic expression even if it creates problems? There's real money and relationships at stake here. The broader NBA community was watching closely. Veteran players like Chris Paul and LeBron James stayed publicly neutral, but their silence spoke volumes. This wasn't just about two players anymore. It was about the culture and values of the entire league. Sponsors and endorsement partners were conducting their own internal assessments. Edwards' corporate sellout comments forced brands to examine whether their partnerships appeared too manufactured, too removed from authentic basketball culture. Meanwhile, Tatum's measured but forceful response resonated with marketing executives who value controlled messaging and professional conduct. His ability to defend himself without losing his composure was viewed as exactly the kind of crisis management skills that make for valuable long-term partnerships. Agent circles were buzzing with analysis of how this controversy might affect both players' marketability. Edwards' authenticity appealed to younger demographics, but potentially alienated corporate partners. Tatum's response reinforced his reputation for professionalism, but raised questions about whether he was too calculating, too corporate. The timing couldn't have been worse for both players. All-Star voting was underway, and this controversy was inevitably influencing fan perceptions and media narratives. Team USA preparations were on the horizon, adding another layer of complexity to an already complicated situation. What began as post-game comments had evolved into a case study about the modern intersection of athletics, commerce, and authentic expression in professional sports. Lasting consequences and future implications. As the initial shock of this controversy begins to settle, the long-term implications for both Anthony Edwards and Jayson Tatum are becoming increasingly clear. This wasn't just a momentary clash, it was a defining moment that could shape their careers and relationship for years to come. For Edwards, the aftermath has been complex. His willingness to speak his mind has earned him a devoted fan base who appreciate his authenticity, but it's also marked him as someone who might be difficult to manage or partner with. Several veteran players have privately expressed concerns about his approach to criticizing established stars. The controversy has also put additional pressure on Edwards to back up his words with performance. Every game is now viewed through the lens of whether he can match his trash talk with results. The scrutiny has intensified significantly, and not all of it is positive. Tatum, meanwhile, has emerged from the controversy with his reputation largely enhanced. His ability to respond forcefully while maintaining professionalism has impressed teammates, coaches, and league executives. The incident has solidified his status as a leader, willing to defend himself and his approach to the game. Looking ahead, I'm curious about your prediction. Will this controversy motivate both players to elevate their games and prove their respective points? Or will it create lasting tension that affects their performance and team dynamics? Sometimes conflict can be fuel, other times it's just destructive. The ripple effects extend beyond individual careers. This controversy has sparked league-wide conversations about player conduct, media relations, and the balance between authenticity and professionalism. Younger players are watching closely to see what lessons they should draw from this situation. Future encounters between the Timberwolves and Celtics will carry additional weight and attention. Every interaction between Edwards and Tatum will be analyzed for signs of ongoing tension or resolution. The incident has also influenced how other players approach similar situations. Some have become more cautious about making public comments about peers, while others have been emboldened to speak more freely about league culture and player behavior. Perhaps most significantly, this controversy has highlighted the generational and philosophical divides within the NBA about what it means to be a professional athlete in the modern era. The questions raised don't have easy answers, but they're conversations the league needed to have. What started as Anthony Edwards feeling himself after a big win turned into one of the most revealing NBA controversies in recent memory. Not because of what was said, but because of what it exposed about the current state of professional basketball culture. Edwards' corporate sellout comment wasn't just trash talk. It was a young player questioning whether success in today's NBA requires compromising authenticity. His willingness to call out established stars resonated with fans tired of polished, corporate-approved personalities. Tatum's response proved that even the most diplomatic players have limits. His calculated destruction of Edwards' credibility showed a different side of his leadership style and demonstrated that respect in the NBA is still earned through accomplishment, not just bold statements. But the real story isn't about who won this particular exchange. It's about the broader questions this controversy raised. Can you be both authentic and corporate? Does age and experience automatically deserve respect? How much should players care about their public image versus their competitive edge? The answers matter because they'll shape how the next generation of NBA stars approaches their careers. Will they follow Edwards' path of unfiltered expression or Tatum's model of strategic professionalism? Maybe there's room for both approaches in a league diverse enough to embrace different personalities and styles. What's certain is that both players will carry this moment with them. Edwards will need to prove his philosophy can translate to wins. Tatum has established himself as someone who won't be disrespected quietly. The NBA is better when it has these kinds of genuine conflicts and personalities. Perfect corporate messaging gets boring fast. Real tension, real emotion, real stakes. That's what makes this league compelling. What's your verdict? Team authenticity or team accomplishment? Drop your thoughts below and let's keep this conversation going. The game on the court is just part of the story.